I am traveling to visit my mom in Kentucky for Christmas, and then I'm going to Montana with you, Amy. My routine is completely thrown off, but there's one thing that I am maintaining. And that's Ritual.
Ritual is an obsessively researched multivitamin. Their essential multis have the nutrients most of us don't get enough from our food, especially me, all in their clean and absorbable forms. There's no shady additives or ingredients that do more harm than good.
I'm currently taking their essentials for women 18 plus, which contains 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day.
We take their Symbiotic Plus Gut Health every evening before bed, and that minty freshness actually is like a little treat before I go to sleep.
Get to go to bed fresh. Ritual's essential third-party tested for heavy metals and clean label project certified.
Their products are HSA, FSA eligible with a seamless checkout experience, so you can even save when you shop with your pre-tax dollars.
Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supportive foundational health.
Our listeners get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/booktalk.
That's ritual.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for 25% off your first month. Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your besties with a literary podcast that deep dives into your favorite novels. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy. And we're currently taking a break from book club to talk to author Stacia Stark about her newest novel, We Who Will Die.
Stacia Stark is an Amazon #1 best-selling author of romantasy filled with found families, self-reliant heroines, and brooding, grumpy heroes. Her books have been translated into over 15 languages. Her Kingdom of Lies series was nominated twice for Goodreads Choice Awards, and her traditionally published debut, We Who Will Die, released with Avon in December 2025. When she's not writing or exploring the world, Stacia can usually be found sprawled on her sofa, lost in the pages of a good book.
Find her at her website, staciastark.com, on Instagram at Stacia Stark Author, or on TikTok at author Stacia Stark. Welcome, Stacia.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We're so glad you're here. And let me tell you, my 14-year-old self adored this book. I gobbled it up on a weekend. I was visiting my mother, and every time she wanted to talk to me, I was like, I think you need to take a nap. I think you're tired. I need to keep reading. I loved everything about this book, the Roman history, the vampires, the magic, and tropes. I'm going to try to keep to myself because we want to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. But I feel like you've incorporated 3 different genres that could, in and of themselves, be their own stories. So I would love to know from your perspective, what was it about combining all these 3 aspects that you felt would create this new fantastic world? Because it is a fantastic world.
Who just sits there and is like, you know what? Vampire gladiators.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So honestly, it really was very organic, the way that it came together. And I feel like a lot of it has just been kind of lingering in my mind in different ways for a really long time. I did classics in high school, which was sort of ancient Rome, ancient Greece, loved it. And, then obviously I went and lived my life. But I remember learning in my 20s that the women were fighting as gladiators. And they've just been kind of ignored in history and popular culture. Whenever we see anything in that era, it's always the men swinging the sword. So that had always kind of stuck with me. And then I was always, with the magic system, I was always really intrigued by the idea of people being able to see exactly how much power, to an extent, right? But how much power someone had at a glance and what that would do to society, especially if it's stamped on your forehead. There's no escaping it, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And then the vampires, I've never sort of played in that world. I've always loved the Vampire Diaries. I loved Gladiator, the movie. And with Arvelle, her mum was an addict. And with vampires, you have this kind of undertone of they need blood, and the people that they feed from can get addicted. And so when we have these characters who have these wounds, we like to sprinkle some salt all over those wounds, right? So, and we see a little bit more to do with that in book 2.
Oh, I'm so excited because I think you interwove the theme of addiction in multiple levels so well. It was so seamless that it is that salt. It's like, let me just go jump in the ocean, no big deal, but you're actually in pain the entire time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that when you have such a fantastical world, right, you're deep in fantasy, when you have those grounding moments, you know, battling addiction, having that be a theme or in the background, it's elements like that that really grounds the whole thing. And I think you do that really well by grounding it in the humanity of everything, even when we're not dealing with humans.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I really like my characters to feel like people, and obviously it's the backstory that does that, right? Like, it's all of those hard, terrible times I've gone through before they even get onto the page, and I think it just helps people. It helps characters be a little bit more memorable as well. I
loved that. Like, that's not a spoiler. That's like first chapter, guys. But having where Arvelle, I practiced. Did I do it right? Arvelle.
Arvelle.
I'm going to say with California accent.
Arvelle.
Arvelle. The fact that like it started with Arvelle years after like a competition type thing, it was one of those, I'm like, oh my, we already, like, we're post-competition. We've already skipped what would be a first book. Like, we are here now.
Right. And I think it's the repercussions of that, right? Because we never really get to see that a lot of the time in books that feature any kind of trials. We never really get to see what that fallout looks like.
Yeah, and I love that you start off in the consequences of her first competition and the fallout of other people's choices, because too often we leave with the competition's over, happily ever after, right? So this was a unique take on the competition trope that I really enjoyed.
I did too. It made me think about writing in a good way, in the sense of like my own writing, where I'm like, damn, that's a good idea with everything. But more about writing with this one is we both found your narrative style to be really unique in this one. I don't know if you felt that way too, but to what extent did Arvelle's need to keep herself emotionally closed off impact the narrative style you utilize as an author? Because the narrative style was something that we caught on very quickly.
So there were a few different choices I made here. So for my other series, I like to use dual point of view, for example, which allows us to get into the male main character's head. We get to see what he's thinking. We get to see what he's thinking about her. And we get all of those kind of feet-kicking moments, but we lose a lot of the mystery, right? And as a reader, quite often, I like to be looking for that subtext, especially between characters, right? And when it comes to Arvelle, she's such an unreliable narrator because she lies to herself, and which we all do, right? And if we were writing our stories, we would very much be keeping things from the worst parts of ourselves and our fears and stuff that we can't really admit to. So while we definitely get to hear from her and we get to hear, some of the things she's struggling with, it was important to me that, because she is such a closed off reader, she felt just that hint of kind of closed off to the reader as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I definitely noticed that in her narration, because I feel like she would start to get towards something emotional and she'd be like, yep, nope, we're going to go look in this direction instead, or we're going to go do this thing and not even touch that.
Right.
Which I think sometimes readers can misinterpret as the author not diving deep instead of realizing like, oh, this is the character who is choosing to not delve into those emotions, which is what makes them unreliable.
Right. And I mean, especially because it's a book one, I've got a trilogy to get through. And just like when you meet a friend, right? Like they don't kind of unload everything onto you in the first 5 minutes of meeting them, right?
I hope not.
I'm like, wouldn't really be much.
I was like, I didn't do that. I swear. Not to Amy.
But you really do get to know them organically over time, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah. It's true. I think part of the reason why it felt unique, and I applaud you on this, is because it's such a different way than what I think. And there's a lot of times when I read something and I immediately put myself as the FMC. Like, don't we all? Like, you know, we go in and I'll be like, well, I can do this, or I think like this. And I'm a spiraler. Let's have this one thought and we're going to think about this one thought a million different ways. So it was like very cool to not be the FMC and to have this character actually exist beyond my vanity of like, you know, putting myself into the characters. Like I'm going to say we all do, but I definitely do.
That's so funny because I feel like I'm also such a spiraler. I've got like pretty bad anxiety, so I definitely relate to that. So, I think I just really had to like, you know, go outside of myself to write her for sure.
Well, with Arvelle, as a heroine, she's fiercely loyal. She's also severely traumatized. And I say occasionally impulsive, but that's like barely scratching the surface. She's pretty impulsive. But despite maybe her character flaws, she's extremely empathetic. It's so easy to empathize with her, even though we don't necessarily see ourselves in her. And I wanted to know if there was an approach you used or how you thought about finding balance with Arvelle, because it could go either way, right? She could be this extremely unlikable character because she makes a lot of mistakes, she makes assumptions, she succumbs to influence pretty easily. So how do you find balance where your reader does find that empathy for her?
I think, you know, again, part of it is that she's such an unreliable narrator, but I also really, you know, she's coming from the Thorn. She's coming from this very kind of, this neighborhood that's, you know, brutal, but she still knows it. She knows how to navigate it and she knows how to keep her brothers safe there, right? Like, and she's just such a fish out of water when she is in the Ludus. And it's really important to me that characters are realistic in that way, that we all make mistakes, right? And even when we can justify them, we also sometimes make mistakes where when we look back, we can say, even if I had that same information, I would make that same mistake again, right? And we are limited by how much we know. And so I think expecting her to kind of show up at court essentially and in the Ludus and sort of understand it and sort of have her shit together essentially is just a little bit too far. She's got a long way to go before she's going to be that poised. I mean, for the impulsivity, I've got ADHD. I'm very impulsive myself. So it's easy for me to relate to that in terms of when she's making a lot of these decisions, they don't come out of nowhere because most of the time she's doing it in order to protect someone because that's so important to her. That's just been kind of, she's been protecting her brothers for so long. She sees herself as responsible for other people. So that just was part of her character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the fact that she's just been trying to survive when we meet her and hold things together. Like you're saying that she's just trying to hold it together. And the way that, like, she's just trying to get her brothers, she's just trying to get one brother to live. Like, that's like, at that point, it's like, you know, not even like feed them entirely, just more of like, let's just keep one alive or both. But, and, you know, which is, I'm laughing. It's quite depressing. And it did make me feel bad for her. And that's one of those things where it does make us emotionally connect with her. Also, the fact that she has a bad ankle. Amy has a bad ankle. And so
yes, the whole time I was like, I understand.
She had to get surgery for it. Oh, no. I had to drive her from her surgery.
I feel like also as we kind of get into our 30s, we've all got something that aches a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So we can relate.
It was definitely the aches and breaks of the body. I was like, oh no. I think that's why I was also feeling particularly protective of her because I kept thinking of you, Amy. And I was like, not the ankle. Very traumatizing.
It was very traumatizing when her ankle is healed and she's like, wow, this is what it feels like to feel no pain anymore. I understand that too. Like years later after my surgery, I'm like, oh, wow, I can actually use this without falling.
Oh, I love that.
So in that way, I did see myself in Arvelle.
It is funny. Sorry, random side note. Like to the point where if Amy's walking by a sidewalk, I can't handle it. Like if there's a rock, like I will throw myself. I can't have her hurting herself again.
Oh my gosh.
We cannot do this. So
see, you've got that empathy. You've got Arvelle's empathy right there.
I mean, I don't have, I'm a different kind of FMC that maybe should not get her own book. A spiraling empathetic one. Okay, so but we do want to talk about Arvelle a little bit more. So, oh no, we already talked about her. Sorry. I didn't realize that was Amy's question.
That was my question.
My bad. I wanted to keep talking about her.
You can.
No.
Yeah, go for gold.
She's cool. Like, she's just one of those cool girls. Like, I feel like I would want to be her friend in school, and I don't think she would be my friend, but, like, mainly because I'd be too scared to approach her. But I would want to.
It's funny because she wouldn't be friends with me either. You know,
I'm happy we're both, but we want to be, but she doesn't, she's busy. So, Amy and I, we both loved to learn about Ty through Arvelle's memories, and as well as throughout the interactions of the novel. And it was such a unique way of going about it, too, because, it was just one of those, like, gasping moments every time there was, like, a memory flashback. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for that. Summer I Turned Pretty. You should watch it. But how much of Ty's story did you already have figured out before you started writing versus how much did you discover his story like Arvelle did as the story developed?
So this was very much a part of the initial concept, their story. So I knew that they had, met as children and, without giving too much away, I knew sort of the progression of that. But when I wrote that first flashback scene, it really was supposed to be just one and done. Like this is how they met and that's it. But the problem with that, obviously, is that then we have Arvelle constantly telling the reader, this is what happened and he did this and I said that and it made me feel really sad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead, when I remember writing that second flashback scene and kind of thinking, I just need to get into his head and I just need to sort of be there and I may not end up using it. And then it kind of took a life of its own. And so, yeah, I'm really happy with the way that turned out because I do think it kind of lets us see how they ended up the way that they did.
This isn't part of the question, so you can tell me to go away and not answer this. Are you a pantser or a planner?
Both. So I wish I like pantsing because I've got that ADHD, new and shiny, like don't need the dopamine kind of thing, right? But with the kind of books that I write, they're so plot heavy that if I did that, I also have a really bad memory. So I would just be all over the place, right? So I really do. I plot out most major beats and, sometimes I end up going back and having to be like, this isn't working and changing things up. And it really does change every time though. Some books are very intricately plotted and others it's like, I'll get to a point and this is kind of the best time, right? Where something comes to me and it changes everything and then I'm off. So yeah, I call it kind of a plotster approach where it's a bit of both.
Oh, I like that.
Amy and I both write, so we're always like curious to talk to authors, especially when you have, like you said, plot heavy, but like in the best way possible. There's you're here for the characters, but damn, you're here for the plot.
Yeah.
And it's really, I don't know, like it just feels, my head would be exploding if I was trying to memorize it all too. But it's just like one of those things where it lands perfectly and it makes sense, where I'm always like, how does one even begin to plan that and map it out? Are you
a pantser or a plotter?
I'm a plotter until to the detriment of myself.
Oh, okay.
And then because I've already written a book and then I'm like, so now I'm in the like process and I had to like I only finished it because I had to let go of certain things. And so like, of course things happen and you go through it. But then I'm like, then I read a book like yours that I'm just like, oh my God, things are so well thought out and things are so where I'm like,
but remember my first draft was not great, right? This was my problem before I started writing. I would compare these beautifully edited, books on the shelf and to what I was trying to do. And I was so kind of disheartened by it that it just crippled me. But, the first draft looked nothing like that. I can tell you that much.
Because the inspiration comes later where you're just like, oh my God, this works here. We're going to put this here.
It's more just like, sometimes it feels like a dog's breakfast, right? Like I had a whole plot line in that book that got removed because I had tried to do so much. And so there's quite often, and then, with this, I'm writing book 2 right now, and with that one, there's been a lot of moving scenes around. And then, of course, that means that things are happening in different orders. You've got to go back and check for continuity errors. So it's very much often like a jigsaw puzzle, I would say, where you're just kind of
And that blows my mind because I guess I'm very linear. So when I think about like, when things are like, you move this around, I can get it in concept, but then I just be like, but my line, which is not a healthy way of going about things, and I'm stuck in revision. So
have you tried it? There's a tool called Miro that is really helpful. It's basically a kind of a mind mapping tool, but I use it because I'm the same as you. I have to be able to see it.
Yeah.
I'm so visual, like I can't hold it in my head.
Yep.
And so basically what I do is I'll create, a table that has all of the chapters. It's all sticky notes. So every plot line is a different color, and romance is pink and this plot line is blue and blah blah blah, and I'll kind of pop them all in, and so I can see at a glance like, okay, there hasn't been some romance happening for a while, like what am I doing here, right? And it's a lot easier to move things around and sort of get an idea of what I'm doing. So I'd recommend something like that.
I tried doing that physically, and then I realized there's not enough wall.
That was my problem too.
Frankly,
when you're writing fantasy, I'm like, how do you do this with fantasy? Like,
right? I'm like, how did they do it back in the day? What's that tool called?
It's Miro. So I call it Miro, but I think it might be called Miro. It's like a little yellow, and I've got it on my phone. I've got it on both computers, and it all syncs together. And it's what I like about it is you can do so much with it, and it's great for plotting. I really, really recommend that one.
I'm downloading it tonight. I'm very excited.
Amazing. I hope you like it.
Well, I want to go back to the topic of the flashbacks and how you started with just one and then they kind of took a life of their own. What I like about your flashbacks, it's not just, so part of it is you're showing, not telling the backstory of these two characters. What I like about it and why I think it's so effective, and it doesn't do, sometimes people are over reliant on the flashbacks, right? What I like about what your flashbacks accomplish is there are certain details that come back and are relevant to the world or to other characters without it being solely limited to the relationship between Tiernon and Arvelle. For example, the whole Tiernon's love of sunlight and being in the sun is so important for part of the plot, right? And it's not just about him, it's about all vampires. I think there were little details about the gold buttons and what it does to set up for some reveals that happen later in the book. I think they were just so well crafted and served more than one purpose. And I just applaud you because I think not all authors can accomplish that.
Thank you. I mean, you've got to be really careful with flashbacks because they can slow the pacing a lot. Because when we're reading, we're like, we care about the here and now, right? So it is really difficult to find that balance and be like, okay, am I putting this at the right place where we want the pacing to slow a little bit after something? Am I putting it somewhere relevant so that we get those feels right before a particular scene? There's definitely a lot of thought that goes into it for sure.
Yeah. Well, it pays off and you can tell that you've thought a lot about it.
Thank you.
New year, Amy, and that means new fashion.
I am so excited for my new Uptown sneakers. They are so cute and they are going to make me the hottest thing on this town.
And you're already the hottest thing on this town. However, your competition is here because I have my VI Very Intelligent Dress Ramona heels. And what I love about these heels is that, yes, they're a timeless style, but they are seriously comfortable. I really love wearing this really classic pump with my jeans. It's just enough of a heel for me and my jeans, and I don't look clunky with my boots. Now I actually look sleek and stylish, and
That's how I feel about my new Uptown sneakers. They're covered in suede, and the cushioning is contoured for support so that I can wear them on my commute. If I take the train, I can wear them at work, and I'm going to be wearing these every Saturday too.
I can't wait because Vionic has their Gabby sneakers that's launching in January, and when it comes to Vionic, when it comes to their styles and their shoes, they always make sure to put comfort first with their motion technology. And that's honestly what sets them apart. Because we do need comfy feet. I can't just look good. I have to feel good too. Vionic offers a 30-day guarantee when it comes to your shoes. Wear them, love them, or return them for a full refund within 30 days.
Use code BookTalk at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account. It's a one-time use only, so get all those new styles.
Vionic Shoes, wearable well-being for your feet. Okay, so I am very excited to talk about Rorrick because I suspect folks are either going to love him or hate him. You can guess where I land on this spectrum. Deeply, madly love. There is a lot of mystery about him. What are you hoping your readers walk away with when it comes to him? And do we get more of his backstory in future books?
Okay, so for people who haven't read the book yet, Rorrick is the Emperor's very unhinged eldest son. And Arvelle meets him when she gets to the Ludus. He is definitely, there's a lot more than meets the eye, as you can imagine. What I love about him is he's very unapologetic about sort of who he is and how he acts, which is very fun to write as an author, especially when Arvelle is just so responsible and she cares so deeply and she's so empathetic, whereas Rorrick is just especially when we see him in book one, it just seems like they couldn't be more different, right? But yeah, he's definitely got some depth to him that you haven't seen yet. I'm writing book 2 right now. So there has been some very fun scenes and you'll get to see a lot more of his backstory.
I'm already nervous for book 3. You said this is a 3, like this is a trilogy.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. What are you going to do to us? Because I
was telling Jack this morning, I was like, I really hope this is a wide choose because that would just make me so happy.
But then, I mean, I can't say certain things because again, plot twists, but like, I think we dabble. I know. I'm going to delete this part, but then that goes into incest, and then that's weird.
Oh God, yeah.
But
I think Arvelle can have open relationships. I think I want that for her. I want her to be happy.
Just like any love. I mean, is it okay to say love triangle? Do you think that's too spoilery?
I'm trying to think about this. Because that's one of the things that we were talking about in marketing, because like a lot of people really don't like love triangles and they will a lot of readers will specifically stay away from them. But like funnily enough, like this is like a side note as well, when I kind of came up with this concept, it was supposed to just be a second chance romance. Rorrick was definitely not supposed to kind of even be a glimmer of a love interest. So that was, again, very organic. So for that reason, especially because book 1 does focus so much on their romance, it's hard. I don't want people to just think it's like a typical like love triangle where, well, she's not going to end up with that guy anyway because he was at the start of the book. Do you know what I mean? Because there was so much depth that I put into creating that relationship and I like feel so many ways about it.
Let me know if you want us to delete that, because in my head, I came to the conclusion of second chance romance, which means it's Ty's endgame. So if you want me to delete that, I will.
I don't know.
Because you're like second chance romance, which means Rorrick did not have a chance, which means...
Well, let's read the back of the book. 2 vampires stand between me and my mission, one who shatters my heart, one who torments me at court.
We're being pretty blatant. I feel like you could probably mention the love triangle.
Okay. Here's the thing. When it comes to love triangles, poor editor will bleep this part out, because I do feel like the fact that they're is like a big twist.
Right.
I'm suddenly so invested in well, I love a love triangle, but my thing is that she just has to be with both. If you can, at one point or another.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, Stacia, because I think Twilight ruined love triangles for a lot of people. Yeah. I think a lot of people have been against love triangles since 2008 or whenever, the movie came out. And I think dystopian romances did that too. What I really enjoy about this novel is that the second chance romance is the dominating trope of the relationships in this novel. And that might change for book 2 or 3. We don't know. However, I think it's fair to not market this as a love triangle because that's not the dominating feature of it.
Yeah, it was definitely, it's definitely a tricky one because that aspect is there, right?
Right,
and
right.
I think a lot of people who read a lot of romantasy, the moment they see Rorrick, they're like, oh,
yeah. I was so conflicted.
Right. But at the same time, like, there was definitely there's so many themes around second chances in so many ways in this series and in the book. I definitely just don't want people to come away with like that surface level love triangle kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm like, I also wrote a love triangle.
Yeah.
I think you did such a good job with the characters that you don't have to worry about surface level with them.
Thanks.
You know, there's too much depth within the characters for anything to be surface level.
Yeah. And I feel like the whole point of this, and this is me putting words in your mouth, is we are meant to feel like Arvelle and be super duper confused, just like she is when she gets pinned up against a wall by Rorrick and she's like, I'm terrified, but also my thighs are clenching.
I like this.
I think, what? I'm confused now. That is the feeling of these dynamics, and it's fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I really do want people to kind of feel that for sure. And I mean, to me, it's really important. One of the bigger themes in the book is like how much we change when we are apart from people. So Arvelle has had a terrible 6 years, right? She has just suffered. And in the meantime, Tiernon has changed a lot too. So that is, again, one of the big themes of like, you know, what do those second chances look like? And do they work when we have changed that much? And when do people come together and overcome and all of those things, right? Without getting too spoilery again.
It's hard to call, I get what you're saying. Like, it's almost hard to call it a second chance when it's a first in many ways with them. Like, it's the first time that they're meeting each other as these new versions. I can't even imagine an ex of like 6 years ago.
Well, especially one who's just abandoned you, right? Like,
yeah. Well, as most of my exes have. That's not true. That's not just my father. I'm kidding.
You're not kidding, but that's fine.
It is funny. Well, again, poor editor. We'll see what we take out.
I'm like, raise your hand if you don't have father issues.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's true. It's
right.
True.
For that reason, we should, Amy and I have talked about this a lot, where it's like, you know, for a world where there's a lot of daddy issues, we get real comfortable killing off mothers in books.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Actually, funnily enough, she wasn't going to be dead. That was a suggestion by my editor.
Oh, really?
So your editor doesn't want mothers to live.
Yeah. She's just out. Sorry, Laura. She's just out for the mothers. But, you know, I think when I kind of realized again, we're talking first draft, right? So when I sort of went back and I was still developing things, it's like just layers on layers on layers. I needed her to be gone, first of all, just because of what I was trying to achieve and just because I needed what I needed from Arvelle. And again, it wasn't just a plot device, right? Like, it's another reason that Arvelle is so, you know, wounded.
Yeah. I mean, she has to take care of her siblings. Like, that's a big thing. And then if you were to throw in having to take care of your mom, I feel like that just makes me, not that you'd be imitating Hunger Games or anything specifically, but there's a certain level of like resentment, I think, when you have to take care of a parent on top of taking care of your siblings, that it's like, you know, our poor girl's already going through enough shit. We don't have to have resentment of parents going on in there.
Well, and I think what's so important for Arvelle is also the fundamental distrust of authority figures. She's been let down by all the authority figures in her life, and, you know, she's being manipulated by authority figures and whatnot. So I think it's important, and I understand that it's not just a plot device what happens to her mother and the impact that it has on Arvelle. It's just really unfortunate so many fantasy books kill off the mom. It's like for some reason, the female protagonist's growth is dependent on the mother's death or the mother's insanity.
Yeah, you know, we should dig deep into that one day, I think.
Let's all talk about it. We just started an online journal focused on romantasy, romance in that area. Because I have, we both have bachelors in creative writing. I have a master's in comparative literature. Amy has a master's in higher education. There's something else to it. But so like we're starting off with it, and then we want to get more people involved in writing it. But that's a good topic that we should cover of like, why do we kill off? Yeah. Eventually we want it to be like, just like any online journal, having anyone submit. Granted, we'd review and pay them, and eventually having authors, do think pieces and everything.
I love that.
Yeah. Actually, my article last week was the mother curse in fantasy and romantasy.
Oh,
this is the exact topic. Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh my God. Okay. Can you guys send this to me? Because I need to read this. This is amazing.
Yeah. And then funny enough, We'll send this to you because next month we're launching like a small paid avenue, but that's like the rest of it's free. But I'll send this to you. I'm posting my dissertation, which was the gender politics of vampirism.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that couldn't come to that's amazing.
I know.
This is so
we'll send it to you. We'll send you the info.
Yes,
yeah.
do.
Eventually we want to like
amazing.
gather authors and give a space for like think pieces so that like,
I love this because you know what? I'm so tired of seeing these like why you're seeing dragons and sex everywhere articles.
Yes.
And we just keep talking about it and being like, what do we have to do to be taken seriously in any form in the media?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the more people that like sort of draw attention to the fact that this is not just dragons and sex, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's literally how we started this podcast was like, we're going to take an academic approach to these things. And hopefully you can see that in the way that we approach the questions.
Totally.
And also that's all part of the reason why we want to have this online journal, especially where it's like, we just see authors having to like post on threads, or Instagram stories, and it's just not enough. And like, you guys are also smart and there's a lot more depth to it. So we want to give a safe space for authors and readers to have to talk. But yeah, we'll give you more info because we definitely,
that sounds great.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely need to follow up my last week's article because I mostly focused on mothers, or if they're alive, they're either like, they're really good and perfect and provide you everything you want, or they're evil because they're neglectful, right?
Yeah.
They get no depth. And if they get depth, they get killed off. So
Right. And I wonder how much of that is like kind of just ramping up, because I feel like we take characters and then we push them up higher, like in any kind of personality trait, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I wonder, I'm like, okay, so how many authors have mommy issues?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where it comes down to.
And we're all just working through our own traumas.
Yeah. We think it's all about daddy issues. Turns out what I learned in therapy was some of your dating habits, if you're single and straight, come from your primary parent, and sometimes your primary parent was your mother.
Yeah.
So, some of us, we really opened up to you a lot today, Stacia.
I'm usually the one who's like, I feel like we should like have a few margaritas one day. Like when
LA,
and we can.
When are you coming out to LA next? Are you doing RomantiCon again?
I am, yeah. So I'm going to be there for that. I'm also doing LoveLitCon. I think that's a week after in San Diego. So I'm actually going to be in the area for a solid, a few weeks because I'm not going to fly back and then fly back out, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So we should definitely grab drinks.
Yes, please. We're going to be at RomantiCon, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And we're also going to try to go to BookCon in New York next year too.
Oh, cool.
Oh, in April.
I mean, all the trade authors are like, the moment that came back, people were losing their minds. It sounds like it's great.
That's where, that's what, I didn't even know what was going on, just like, people's excitement. And then I was like, oh my God, buy tickets, Amy. So
like FOMO, let's go.
Kind of. I was so caught up with everything.
Right.
Well, for our last question, we've actually kind of talked about this, unless there's anything else you want to add to it. So you have 3 complete series. You're starting this new trad published series with We Who Will Die. You've got another series with Empire of Blood. That's a lot to hold in your head. So we learned about Miro from you. Do you have any other maybe tips or tricks for aspiring authors or new authors, and how you would advise them as they're world building or developing characters and how they kind of keep it all straight?
Honestly, I wish that I could be the kind of person who could like work on 2 projects at once. I'm terrible at it. And I think a lot of the time people, it's like, oh, squirrel. And so they try and do too many things. Whereas if you can let yourself just get really obsessed with the world you're writing, it's kind of like archaeology, where you're just kind of finding, you've got your little brush and you're finding all these little bones. And yeah, so like my first series, Kingdom of Lies, that's complete. Well, that's not my first series. To be fair, I've got two urban fantasy romance series, but my second world romantasy series is Kingdom of Lies. with that series, that's complete, but there is another series that came after. It's a duology called now I am mixing them up, called Kingdom of Death. And I was actually drafting that sort of the first book, while my editor had this time last year. And I did have to kind of work on both projects and put one down and pick up the other one for edits. And it was tough, but I will say one thing I decided to do was the Kingdom of Liars having written in first past. And I knew that I was going to go first present for this project just because of the way that I wanted it to feel. And so initially my goal was, I had thought, because I've written in Medinia's voice, she's a character who I took from that series and she now has this duology. I had kind of thought, I need to stay in first past with her, right? Because that's how I wrote her as a point of view character in this series. And that was going to really trip me up, having to go back and forth between past and present. I think that messes with your voice a lot. And I ended up just switching it and just going, and no one's ever asked me anything about it. I feel like readers don't notice as much as we notice. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And so that would be the one thing, is like, make sure that you're in the right tense for what you're trying to achieve. And yeah, just like let yourself get really obsessed with it. And then it honestly just all comes down to backstory. If you know the backstory and you know why your characters are behaving the way that they are, they feel so real to you that you're not really going to mix them up with anyone else, right? Because you know exactly how they think, because you're like, it's their ability to empathize. You know, like we know, if this had happened to me, this is how I would react and what I would do. Or this is what she would do and I wouldn't do, but I can take that because I know where she's coming from, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it.
That's such a piece of good advice. And maybe for the first time, even though I've been writing stories since I could write, that's the first time it's really clicked for me that, like, I think for me, when I start writing, I'm discovering the backstory of the individual as I go, which is probably why writing the first draft is so painful. Because I never start with, I know the full backstory, because when I know the full backstory, I just want to write that story rather than the present story. So that's a lesson I'm taking away, that maybe I need to work more on learning the backstory before I start actually writing.
I will say I definitely do still discover backstory as I'm writing, and then quite often, like, that'll be like your next draft. You've got to be like, okay, so this is going to change the way that she thinks about these things or what she does, right? So, like, there's definitely still something to be said for, like, being a discovery writer in that way. But I think even if you just have, like, that main kind of, that thing that happened to them, you know, we've all got it, that defined their kind of outlook on the world. If you at least know that, that'll give you like a really solid starting off point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
I also like another thing that you mentioned when it comes to the tenses. And I feel like sometimes when I, listen to readers, it's just more of like, I prefer this tense and I prefer that, versus what you're saying is the tenses are used for a reason. There's an intention to that. And which is good, because I, in my first draft of my book, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Fat first tense, past tense. And it's like, this is a good reminder of like, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? Do I need to be in the moment? Is there a slight reflective element to this? And I also think it's something that as readers, we need to remove this quote unquote preference, right? And just instead go into, well, what is the intent that the author's trying to do here?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time it's almost seen as like, the author just has a preference, or like, I as a reader like this for whatever reason. But like, you're right. We're doing something with that. It's funny that you say that. I've just started, right as I tell you I can't work on multiple projects, I did start hand writing a completely different project. And a little remarkable. I'm talking like, a few hundred words here and there, right? Just a couple of nights a week, I'll scroll. That is in third person. I haven't written third before, but it felt right. I knew that what I wanted to achieve with it needed to be third, and third isn't super popular, but that's a decision that I'm making as the author. If I do decide to publish, or, it might just be for fun.
Yeah.
It feels right. And it has to happen in this way. Right. So, and, there will be authors who also go, I could do it in past, but present's more popular right now. So I can make that, adjustment.
Yeah.
But, to me, I'm very much like, ask yourself why it is you're doing what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. I feel like sometimes third person, people interpret that to be, quote, like, I don't, because, like, I mean, you already know where we stand on the sense that romantasy and romance is literature, and people need to stop treating it like it's not. But I feel like sometimes third person, all of a sudden the more public, opinion is like, that's more literature type.
It's more highbrow.
Yeah.
Right.
And which it's silly that that's the case. That being said, I'm excited to see how you do it. Where
it's been interesting because I think I have I think the voice changed a lot because the project is just so different. So I am writing it very differently. It's been really fun to be able to do that and sort of figure out like how close do I want it to be in third. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's so cool. Yeah, I think our education, which I always caution against getting a creative writing degree because I think it ruins imagination most of the time.
But it does,
based on personal experience.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it does make us like ready for being told that we're horrible though.
Yeah, it's true because we did the workshopping.
Yeah. So I no one can't hurt my feelings anymore.
That's true.
That's
but
amazing.
I think we learned through that process that if you want to write literary, you need to write third person. And I find myself struggling with my books because I always write in third person. And I'm like, I really need to switch this to first person, but it's going to take 20 years of training to undo that.
Wow, that's fascinating.
They really do put it in your head of like literature and highbrow is going to be third person, and it's very in your head. They do mess with your mind quite a bit. And then the program that we were in, you had to apply and only 16 people were accepted per semester. And if you were rejected twice, you were kicked. You couldn't try again.
Oh my God.
And everyone was in there.
Which program is this?
Arizona State University.
Wow.
This was, God.
Don't say the number. Don't you fucking dare. It was many years. It was like 3 years ago. That's all. It was a long time ago, over 10 years ago. But it was, and so like they would have us review one another, which is insane because you have, young uneducated young egos.
Right.
And you just had to go and everyone was busy critiquing everyone and you wouldn't be allowed to defend yourself too, which was also really
you
hard.
weren't allowed to say anything.
No.
Oh, man.
So, and if you've offended someone, they were going to double down and be really mean to you. And
oh God, that's so toxic. And I mean,
it's very toxic.
I would have loved to. I feel like if I still sometimes think it would be nice to go and study because I didn't go to college at all. I just went and frolicked around the world because I'm a Kiwi.
Good for you.
And I think when it comes to that and also the kind of, I've heard a lot secondhand about this kind of disdain for commercial genre fiction that we see in those programs as well, even though that's what's keeping the lights on for publishing.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially romance, which is keeping the lights on for everyone, right?
Right.
Right. I mean, everything is being published and turned into movies and based off of women's interests and women's writing and women's work.
Right.
So basically, we shouldn't listen to the old white men who teach those courses.
Absolutely not. You know what we should do? You should just go take one scene, or don't even take a scene, because I feel like converting it is hard to start with when you're trying to convert something already from third. Write a fresh scene and just write it in first. And it'll feel clunky, it'll feel weird, but honestly do it almost as like a journal entry. So like from your character, have her like write to, maybe even I've heard can be really good too, have her write a letter to you.
Amy's writing that down because she's taking that note. That's a really good idea.
Get her to write you a letter. So she's writing to you and she's like, hey, like this is how I feel. Like this guy is doing blah, blah, blah. Like my mother did, you know what I mean? Like have her like, that'll help you get it in her head.
Oh, I love it.
I'm going to give you Amy. I'm pitching your book, Amy. She's working on a modern sapphic interpretation of Pride and Prejudice set at a university.
Oh my God, that's
with POC.
That is going to be so
characters
good.
And everything. Yeah. Sorry, I have to hype you up.
How far through are you? Like, where are you in the process?
I'm halfway through the first draft.
Okay.
And
oh my God.
if I actually spent the time, I could finish it in a month, but I just haven't.
I mean, I get it.
I know. I mean, we're waiting for this podcast to eventually be able, because we have full-time jobs. You couldn't tell because we're in the middle of the day recording, but and I baked bread earlier, but like whatever.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you so much, Stacia. I know
welcome.
we're over time. It was so lovely to talk to you, and thank you for all your tips.
Yeah.
It's lovely to talk to
you
somebody.
Can't shut me up once I get started.
Don't want to. I'm here. I still want to keep talking, but yes. Thank you.
Margarita's in our future.
Yes.
And we're so excited for everyone to read
Oh my God, yeah.
Who Will Die, because this is the next big thing in my book.
Oh,
in my personal opinion.
Yes.
That is so kind. Thank you so much. This was great.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this special episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy.
We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. We would also love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. You can submit your comments to our forum at booktalkforbooktalk.com for a chance to have your feedback discussed during a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Bye.
Bye. I am traveling to visit my mom in Kentucky for Christmas, and then I'm going to Montana with you, Amy. My routine is completely thrown off, but there's one thing that I am maintaining, and that's Ritual.
Ritual is an obsessively researched multivitamin. Their essential multis have the nutrients most of us don't get enough from our food, especially me, all in their clean and absorbable forms. There's no shady additives or ingredients that do more harm than good.
I'm currently taking their essentials for women 18 plus, which contains 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day.
We take their Symbiotic Plus Gut Health every evening before bed, and that minty freshness actually is like a little treat before I go to sleep.
Get to go to bed fresh. Ritual's essential third-party tested for heavy metals and clean label project certified.
Their products are HSA, FSA eligible with a seamless checkout experience, so you can even save when you shop with your pre-tax dollars.
Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supportive foundational health.
Our listeners get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/booktalk.
That's ritual.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for 25% off your first month.